I think we are ready to start, and a few more journalists are on their way, but I think we should give it a go to allow ministers to take off as quick as possible. So thank you very much for coming to this conclusion press conference of this council meeting at ministerial level. I would like to introduce you from the very left, my colleague Fernando Doblas, who is the head of the communication department at the European Space Agency. We have next to him Minister Etienne Schneider, who is the Vice Prime Minister in Luxembourg and Minister of Economy here. We have our Director General, the European Space Agency, Jean-Jacques Dordain, and next to me, Mauro Dell'Ambrogio, who is the Secretary of State for Education, Research and Innovation in Switzerland, who is the co-chair together with Mr. Schneider. Minister Schneider, I will leave you the floor so you can start with your statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here, for assisting this press conference. I first of all want to state that this is a very important day for the European Space Agency after, let's say, sometimes tough but very fair and very, very open discussions. We succeeded in raising altogether some 5.7 billion euros in order to assure the different ESA programs for the years to come. So the good news is that the future of the ESA programs is guaranteed. All parties agreed on the importance of a continued investment into the launchers. Decisions have been taken on the next generation of family of launchers with the objective to develop more competitive launchers. 4 billion euros have been committed for the new development of Ariane 6 over the next 10 years. What's more, the importance of space exploration has been emphasized. Participating states committed some 800 million euros for the further exploitation of the ISS until 2020. And participating states also secured the ExoMars program to enable to fly the second mission to Mars in 2018. So in general, I must say that it was a very, very positive ministerial meeting, and in order to give you some more details about the different programs, I refer to our Director General, but first of all, I will pass the floor to my colleague Mauro, who is the co-chair, or who's co-chairing together with me the ESA for the next 2 years. So, Mauro, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Etienne. That doesn't. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this ESA Minister Council aimed at completing the decision from Naples in November 2012 on a few but important subjects, especially launchers, International Space Station, and the evolution of ESA. I shortly stress the importance of the first two issues. We managed to find a way out of a difficult situation concerning launchers policy in Switzerland, in Europe, and secured Europe's independent access to space for years to come. We defined a new design for the Ariane launcher, and finally we found enough money and an appropriate industrial distribution across Europe. We created a setting that puts ESA, its member state, and industry in a close partnership for the development and exploitation of the new European launcher family, including the Vega launcher. All this was only been possible thanks to the enormous effort by ESA, especially its Director General, Industry, and many of member states, agencies and delegates that worked relentlessly until the very last minute, but not only in these 2 days. This work of looking for an agreement was running since 6 months at least. With regard to the International Space Station, today's decision guarantees ESA's contribution and participation to this global cooperation until 2020. This is not only an important sign of solidarity within ESA, but also a strong signal toward our international partners. Combined with the funding for the ExoMars mission, ESA shows that it is a trustworthy partner in exploration, which by definition is a common endeavor on the global level. The next ESA meeting at ministerial level will take place in the city of Lucerne, Switzerland in 2016. The Swiss and Luxembourg co-presidencies of ESA will continue to work together for a strong and successful ESA. Thank you.
Thank you to both ministers. And oui, je crois, il y a l'interprétation en français, donc
There is interpretation in French. Mr. Dornan will speak French. So you need your headphones. I understand French, so you need headphones.
there in your armchairs. Check it, please. And on which channel, I don't know exactly you are, but maybe I can make a sign. Channel 2, apparently, for English into French. Channel 2 for the English speakers. And, okay. Thank you very much. And go ahead. Jean-Jacques Dordain, our Director General, notre Directeur Général. Merci.
Merci.
Thank you, Franco. Well, as the two co-chairs of this ministerial conference have said, and they've been my partners for many years now, both of them, I think I can summarize this ministerial council by saying it's a success. I'd even go so far as to say that it's a great success, because Mr. Schneider, who didn't have the latest figures, he talked about 5,700,000,000. The figures that I've just had are 5,924,000,000. 5,924,000,000. That's almost 6 billion euros of contributions that member states have given the agency. So that's an exceptional effort on the part of member states, because we know what the economic situation is. We know that the Ministerial Council that was held, the last one that was held 2 years ago, was able to, had the results that we're familiar with, and we have managed to bring together 6 billion euros, which is what we managed to do at every ministerial meeting, more or less, for optional programs. That's basically what we managed to raise at each ministerial conference for optional programs. But 2 years after the last one really represents a tremendous effort, and I'd like to emphasize that, because I do think it shows member states' attachment to ESA. You don't come up with that kind of subscription to an organization that one doesn't respect and value. So I take this as a very encouraging and positive sign about the attachment of member states to the agency. So, having started with the figure of 6 billion euros, let me also say what else we did. We approved 3 resolutions, one on access to space, one on the International Space Station and exploration, and one on the evolution of ESA. So, even if this ministerial council had a fairly short agenda with few items to be discussed and approved, as you can see, member states have given very positive direction for ESA in the years to come. We talked about Philae. We landed on the 21st of November 2012 in Naples, and we landed because of the decision of ministers at that time. We've landed again today, and it hasn't been a smooth road exactly, but we did have a controlled landing today. So with that controlled landing today, we can, I think, record this tremendous success, which is the success of member states and the success of ESA. To go into a little more detail, member states have decided to develop 2 launchers, Ariane 6 and Vega C. and we at last have a family of launchers. So far we had 3 launchers, or we have 3 launchers, Ariane 5, Vega and Soyuz, but they don't have the same DNA, so to speak. The member states have decided to develop a family of launchers. In other words, a family has the same DNA and the same genetic makeup, with the booster, the P120C, which will be the first stage of Vega C, and the booster for Ariane 6, which will make Ariane 6 a modular launcher. So in 2020, because Vega C will have its maiden flight in 2018, Ariane 6 in 2020, so by 2020 we will have 2 launchers in the same family with the same genetic makeup. And I think that's a very, very important advance. So much for launchers as such. We have also, this is a subject with which of course you are amply familiar, we have also made a change of governance. The relations between member states and industry have been changed quite substantially, with a different breakdown of risks and responsibilities and financing, which we haven't had so far. And it's industry in particular which will be taking on the responsibility of the commercial exploitation of these launches, and for industry to be able to take that commercial risk, it will become the design authority, because one can't imagine industry taking on the responsibility without having the design authority. So those are the main principles of the new governance, and I think that it's not too much to say that this is a revolution. We've been making launches and satellites in Europe over the past 40-50 years, and so we are now, for the first time in 40 years, changing the governance arrangements. And you're more familiar with that, of course. You're very familiar with that. These changes always go hand in hand with fears and with resistance, but we have the will of member states on one hand, the will of industry on the other, and those two wills have come together, have overcome the resistance, and got off to this new start that we are reporting on today. So much then for the new launches and the development of these new launches. As far as the management of risks in developing these new launches, we have another decision point in 2016. Participating states will have to take a decision in 2016 on the basis of the results we will have had between now and then. They will decide either to continue Ariane 6 on the same track or to change it once again. But we have commitments to take Ariane 6 to its maiden flight. And that's a very important issue. We'll be able to sign the contracts until the end of the development phase of Ariane 6. The second issue with the launchers is that is a very important issue. Of course, before we have Ariane 6 and Vega, we have to continue exploiting Ariane 5 and Vega, and member states have decided to continue supporting the exploitation of Ariane 5 and Vega for the next 2 years. And the third issue is the preparation of the future. There was a decision on the development of new technologies, carbon fiber for booster cases, for instance. That's one of the challenges of the future. But member states have also opened up possibilities for launcher evolution. And there will be proposals on that in June 2015. So we have the three aspects: support to the exploitation of existing launchers, the development of a new generation of launchers, and the preparation of the future. So I think, all in all, that's a very full menu. And it's something which I think we can be proud of, especially as there are a number of important decisions here as well. Germany is now contributing to Vega, which is good news. These two launchers do not only have the common technical genetic makeup, but their makeup is also combined with the same political makeup, so to speak. So that's, I think, an important point as well. So the launchers, I think, are on the right track, and Antonio and myself can, I think, take a rest and leave the scene with the feeling that the job is well done. And just to finish up on launches, Mr. Schneider referred to this earlier on, the development of Vega C and Ariane 6, including the P120C, is 4 billion euros of investment in all. So that's a big figure. Coming to ISS now, we have a financing of 800 million euros for 3 years. It's more or less what we requested. So that's a change. I have had ministerial councils in the past in which we left the meeting with much lower sums of money. So we have enough to spend on ISS. We have reverted to the Toulouse scale for ISS, which was a considerable element of solidarity, of course, in the ISS programme, and the United Kingdom, on top of the Toulouse scale, is continuing to invest in the ISS. And as I did in Naples, I am not saying it in English this time. I said that I'd speak English last time because the United Kingdom decided to fund the station for the first time. So I did it last time, but I won't do it again this time. I'm speaking French, but I'm saying, nevertheless, that the UK is continuing to invest in the ISS, which is another important point. The final point on the ISS is that the funds we have are enough for member states participating in the lunar exploration program to decide to group together the lunar exploration program with the ISS, showing, I think, very clearly that the ISS is not just a continuation of the past, but a stage on the road to the future, including lunar exploration. And I would recall that the European Service Module, and we signed the development contract on the 19th of November for the development of the European Service Module. Its first mission will be to go to the moon with the Orion capsule, and Orion, as you know, is going to be launched for the first time the day after tomorrow. But I think grouping together the lunar program into the ISS program is going to give more latitude, more leeway to the program, so that we can not only continue to exploit the ISS, but to prepare the future. Another important issue is that we have enough money now for ExoMars, and when I say enough, what I mean is that I'm going to be able to sign the industrial contracts as of the beginning of next year. And in doing so, this will enable the 2018 mission to be on solid tracks for 2018. The 2016 mission is, of course, as you know, more or less complete, because the satellite and the lander of the 2016 mission will be leaving for Baikonur to be launched in less than a year from now. So 2006 is just around the corner, and 2008 is now on a firm foundation, as I've said, thanks to the funding of participating states in ExoMars. And I'd also like to emphasize here that Italy, the UK are the two big champions of ExoMars, but there is also considerable support from France and Germany. So there again, we have solidarity in the ExoMars program. And I'd like to make that clear. There's solidarity in launches, because now the three major contributors are contributing to the three launches. There is a solidarity around the ISS, because we have reverted to the Toulouse scale. We have a solidarity on ExoMars, because the four major contributors are now on board the ExoMars missions. So I think we really moved on and broken new ground this afternoon. And then there were the three major issues that I've just referred to on the agenda, but member states have taken the opportunity of this Ministerial Council to subscribe to ongoing programs. This wasn't on the agenda of the Ministerial Council, but I think, Giuseppe, we have 800 million of euros in contributions which were not on the agenda of the meeting. But that shows once again, I think, the fact that member states want to invest in ESA. We didn't ask them specifically to contribute to these programs. They've decided to do that off their own bat. And that, I think, is an important sign. As I said recently when I was in Spain, I said to the president of the Spanish government, I said, you take no risk in investing in ESA, and the Spaniards have made a considerable investment in ESA at this meeting. So just a few words about telecommunications among these programs. Telecommunications is a very important aspect of our activities. It's an area in which we are involved more often than not in public-private partnerships. And I'm very happy to see that the partnership with Eutelsat on AnySat is now on the rails, and we shall have a new satellite called AnySat. AnySat, which is AnySat, a satellite which can do anything. That's the latest aspect of our partnership with Eutelsat. We also have a considerable amount of funding for EDRS, which will enable us to see how we can finalize the EDRS program. And let me take this opportunity to say that last Friday there was a very interesting demonstration of the transmission of an image from Sentinel through laser terminals on Sentinel-1 and on AlphaSat. So an image was transmitted from Sentinel showing the capacity of the laser terminal in a geostationary orbit, which has never been done before, to transmit, as I said, an image, a high debit image. And then if you want more information on telecoms, Magali is sitting there just at the back of the room there, and she will give you all the details you need. But these are all public-private partnerships in telecoms. With AnySat, it's with Eutelsat. In EDRS, it's with Airbus Services, and the list goes on. These public-private partnerships are also, I think, one of the major success stories of the Space Agency, of the European Space Agency. So much then for the outcome of the Ministerial Council. I think thanks to this Ministerial Council, we've never found ourselves in a more comfortable position here in ESA. If I think of the commitments that have been made before the Ministerial Council of today, the commitments which have been made today by member states, we have 15 billion euros of commitments. 15 billion euros, and 15 billion euros is basically 5 years of activity. That's what it amounts to. So we've got a lot to work on. The Italian minister is here, and Madam Minister, let me say that we now have no excuse whatsoever. We have to deliver. We have no excuse not to deliver in the future. And thank you very much for having trusted us with these commitments. So that being said, I'm prepared to answer any questions.
So make sure that Paul sees you and introduce yourself, please. Raise your hands. Okay, Peter.
Je m'exprime en anglais. Monsieur Dordain, just to make sure that everybody is on the right hymn book for the numbers, you had a program of almost 2 billion euros for launchers, including Launchpad, including Vega C. The French and German ministers have told us their participation, their percentage shares of that program. But I guess what you're talking about today here is that the commitments made today were for Ariane 6 and Vega C and P120, but only for 2 years of exploitation, so that you get a total of not 8 billion, but more like 5 billion. Is that correct?
No, the commitment for the development of Ariane 6, Vega C, and P120 is a commitment until completion of Vega C and Ariane 6, covering the two development, one until 2018 and the other one until 2020. And that is for 4 billion of euro. And 4.3, okay. In addition to that, there is the support to exploitation, the LEAP, of Ariane 5 and Vega, and that is for 2 years. And what is the number for this for LEAP? Because there is LEAP classical, LEAP supplementary for Ariane, LEAP classical for Vega, and LEAP supplementary for Vega. 500. That it's the support to exploitation for 2 years. This is what we called, myself, since Antonio and me, we are old guys, this is what we used to call ARTA for the maintenance and EGAS for the support. Now that has been changed into LEAP classical and supplementary to make sure that neither Antonio nor me, we understand what is going on.
Okay. A second question about Ariane 6. In the scenario in which European governments can't find enough satellites to launch on Ariane 6 an average of 5 times per year, how does that change things in terms of the industrial obligation to?
No, again, I am convinced that there is enough satellites between ESA, the European Commission, EUMETSAT, national programs. I think that there is enough satellites in Europe to contract 5 launch per year. There is no doubt on that. And I can tell you that we have even identified the satellites from 2021 to 2025. We know which satellites. And there is no reason for that not to continue, because Galileo will continue, there will be the second generation, Copernicus will continue, there will be the second generation, the science program of ESA will continue, the EUMETSAT program, the meteorology satellite will continue. So there is the volume of institutional satellites to contract 5 launches per year. So at least this is identified until 2025. And I don't see why the number of institutional satellites would decrease suddenly after 2025. I hope that the successor of my successor will continue to make satellites, because if not, it's no use to become DG of ESA. So I am sure that there is a volume. Now, the question is how and when we shall contract these launches, and that we shall take that when time is there, which is 2016. We wish to have the principle of these 5 launch per year acted by the different institutions, and in 2018 to sign the first contracts at the time where industry will sign the first batch of production. But this is clear that industry is ready to take the risk on the commercial market, provided there is an institutional market, which is fair. I don't see why European industry would be put in much more difficult situation than non-European launcher industry. And that is one of the principles of the governance. But I am not afraid of the number of satellites. What is still to be done is how the different institutions will agree to contract these launchers to industry.
Other questions? Raise your hands, please, so that my colleague can see you clearly. Okay. Peter, you want to continue? Okay. We have 5 to 10 more minutes.
J'essaie de collecter des questions, c'est pour ça que ça arrive ici. For EDRS, did I understand you to say that EDRS received enough funding to be able to support a third node as part of this PPP with Airbus? Is that true?
Magali, il faut que tu viennes en aide.
Magali, you will have to help me out here.
A contribution of 30 million from Germany, if I remember well. And if I am well informed, with 30 million, we have a basis to negotiate with Airbus. But Magali is much more informed than me.
Yeah, no, what I can say is that we were not asking for the money to really start the development of the third node. It was just to initiate the studies of how to make EDRS a global constellation and how to introduce some additional features into the existing constellation. Then the following step is foreseen in 2016. And then we will indeed decide on the development for the third node.
Microphone,
Yes,
please.
indeed. In 16, yes. We will take the decision to develop the third node.
Okay, and Madam, while you're there, could you explain to us what any SAT is?
Yeah.
It's ANY, SAT, like just any old SAT?
It's a flexible satellite. This is why we have decided to call it AnySat, because it means that it is its payload is extremely flexible and is able to accommodate any kind of, let's say, telecom mission, if you like, that an operator could dream of.
Okay. And for Monsieur Dordain, you any SAT, ça va pas, non. Enfin, on the space station, you'd asked for 820, including 200 and something for the Orion service module. So I take that out of there because that's non-negotiable. That's part of the package now, correct? Okay. Understood. Understood.
Monsieur
So that
Dordain, le
leaves-
micro.
So that leaves 600 and so that you need for just operating the station 2015, 2017. And you got about 20 million less than you wanted for that, is that correct? Is that going to cause you any problems in terms of numbers of experiments? What does that change?
No, 20 million we can manage that. We are accustomed to have much less than that. So 20 million is a good reason to negotiate with industry. Because anyway, since and that it will be to the member states to decide in 2016, if the member states decide in 2016 to go to extend the exploitation beyond 2020, anything we can do to reduce the cost before that will be, I am sure, much welcome by the member states at the time that they will have to take the decision beyond 2020. So I am not saying that this is good news that we are missing 20 million, but at least it will give us a good reason to discuss.
Okay, and a related question, if you allow, but it's more political. What if you were sitting in the United States or Russia or Japan or Canada, you wanted money through 2020 for the station, you couldn't find it, so you're asking just through 2017, and you couldn't find all of that. What's the message here that Europe is sending about whether it thinks this station is interesting?
I think that I think 3 years is much more than NASA. NASA, they have a budget every year. So I must say that I feel that I am 3 times more secure and more stable than NASA. And so I am not taking that as an handicap from ESA. So, and I can tell you that I know very well my colleagues of NASA. Sometimes they are jealous of the stability of the budget of ESA.
That's the last question. We have 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes, then I have to free this gentleman. Raise your hand if you have a question. I cannot see any hands raised. Can I? Okay, sorry. introduce yourself. You were really hidden behind me.
Yeah, sorry. Cyril Altmaier from Reuters. I have a question about what next. It has been a very tremendous evolution this year, but what is your wish that maybe Europe simplify a little bit more its organization, space organization? What is your wish for Ariane Espace, for the CNES? What do you want to do next, and how fast?
Next, I would like to sleep tonight. That it's first. That this is for the short term. After that, we shall have to implement all the decisions taken today, and I can tell you that the work is not over. The decisions now are over, but as I said in front of the Italian minister, I think that we have now a set of decisions which will have to be implemented properly, meaning that now we, the executive, we have no excuse not to deliver, because the ministers, they have given us everything that we need to make something good. And so we shall implement all these decisions, starting with Ariane 6. As I said, Ariane 6 is not only Vega-C, but Ariane 6 is not only a new launcher, it's a new governance. And when you wish to change, I am always saying that I used to be a professor of mechanics, and I know that when there is movement, there is resistance. And I am not expecting that the implementation of the decisions of today will go without any problem. There is still a lot of problems to solve, but at least we have solid decisions, and we shall have to work with industry, which, by the way, we have done already. I can tell you that this summer was an interesting piece of work with industry, but we shall have to work together with industry, we shall have to work together with Ariane Espace, we shall have to work together with the national agencies to make sure that we are implementing properly these decisions. So the work is not over. I must say that I shall rest tonight, but from tomorrow morning, I think that there is a lot of work to do, and for my colleagues and for me. So yes, we have to implement that. Now, to give you the results of the work that we shall have to do, I cannot predict the future. As I said many times, I never predict the future. I just make it possible.
Okay, so I wish to thank our Director General, thank the ministers, Minister Schneider and Mr. Dell'Ambrogio. Thanks to our interpreters, and thank to all of you, and I give you a rendezvous for the next ministerial meeting in Lucerne, in Switzerland. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Merci.